This is the KNBC News Service with Tom Brokaw and Ross Porter and Kelly Lang. Now, Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. A lot of things aren't showing up tonight, including our theme music.
All right, folks, now let's focus on Tom Brokaw's love of baseball. I'll tell you, before I get to that, though, I want to thank you very much. Among the books you wrote was one called Boom, and here it is.
Yeah.
And inside it says, to Lynn and Ross, old friends are real friends. Tom, thank you.
I felt that way. You and I were two guys from the middle of America. We wanted to do what we ended up doing, and it could not have worked out better. Sometimes I would say, Ross, you've taken too much time on the sports.
That's right.
But I really just cherish our relationship, and I so admired you and what you do. I used to say, you put Ross Porter in front of a camera and just say, tell us something about sports. 25 minutes later, he will give you a whole encyclopedia of sports.
Yeah, you're too kind. Many years ago, a book that was titled What Baseball Means to Me was published. You wrote one of the essays. I found it the other day, and I want to share some of what you wrote. I was a part of a collection of 11 and 12-year-old boys who were athletic and competitive. We played baseball every day during the summer on the town field in South Dakota, a dirt infield diamond with an uneven outfield. We had no umpires or adult supervision, but we managed to get along surprisingly well, arriving at balls and strikes and outs by consensus. We often turned to the only non-player in our crowd. He was fair, and we accepted his rulings. I played second base like my hero, Jackie Robinson, and swung his signature bottle-handed bat. In those hot summers, the games were almost always in the mornings so that we could reserve the afternoons for swimming in the nearby river or at a pool 7 miles away. Did you go on bicycles 7 miles? I don't know. But you said, we'll wind up the day at the drugstore teasing the high school girls who served us fountain cokes and double dip ice cream cones for a dime. Funny days, huh?
Those were the days. And that I'm sorry, I got a frog in my throat, but that young man who called the balls and strikes for us died.
Yeah.
Leukemia.
Yeah.
The following summer. And one of the most moving events of my life was these 9, 10, and 11-year-old boys, the Pheasants, and I can't remember what the other team was right now. Anyhow, we all gathered on the baselines and paid tribute to Johnny Strutz, who had died that winter. And it was as moving a ceremony as you could have had at the Hall of Fame.
Wow. In this book, I learned something I didn't know because you never told me. But I think there's a reason for that. You were a Dodgers fan, but we didn't talk about it because we were in LA and you had been gone from KNBC for, I think, 4 years before I ever went to the Dodgers. But a couple of things in there that I thought were very interesting. In your words, I was a 17-year-old visiting New York. I managed to find my way to Ebbets Field, home of my beloved Dodgers. Why were you in New York at 17?
Because I was the governor of something called Boys State.
Boys State, wow.
Well,
big honor.
I had been the governor that year, and then Joe Foss was a big war hero, and he was the governor of South Dakota. And the American Legion said, we're going to put the two of you together, and you've been invited on a quiz show called Two for the Money. And so I went to New York. Joe and I did well. We made $650 a piece. And then I was determined to go to see the Dodgers play, Ebbets Field. Last summer they were there. Jackie had retired the year before. And I went down to a ticket place and I said, I want to go see the Dodgers play. I want to buy a couple of tickets. And I was very tan and very fit. And they thought I was an Indian. And they said, oh, great. And then they drew out the lines for me how I could get out to Ebbets Field. You know, I was 17 from South Dakota, and I got on the subways and rode 2 different ones out there, sat in Ebbets Field, and everybody around me was a Dodger fan. And then they said, where are you from? And I said, I'm from South Dakota. And you're a Dodger fan? And I said, yeah. They said, okay, listen to us. We know everything that's going on here. And they would point out Duke Snyder's wife. He would turn and tip his hat to her before he went to the plate. They were playing the Giants, so it was one heck of a game, as you might imagine.
Was Mays playing? Willie Mays in the lineup?
Yeah, and there I was watching all of this, and I later have talked to people who were there as well. And then one of my favorite stories about the Dodgers is that the last year that I was really able to get on and see the games was at the same time the greatest pitcher, I believe, in baseball was wrapping up his season, Sandy. Yeah. And about 5 years ago, I was doing something at the Hall of Fame, and he sent word. I didn't know him that well. He sent word he wanted to have dinner with me. Wow. And so he put together this enormous collection of great, great people. And he turned to me and he said, I watched you every night, Tom. You could not tie a good tie. And I said, oh my God, you remember that? I was a terrible knot. And he said, it sure was. And we high-fived each other. So, you know, those are the great things that you and I have been able to have access to.